testify truthfully in this case in a penalty of law?
I do.
All right. Sir, if you could just have a seat, please. Sir, what we're doing is I'm just going to ask you a few questions outside the presence of the jury, and then the attorneys are going to ask you a few questions, okay?
Sure.
Then I'm going to have you step back outside after that, okay?
No problem.
All right. What's your full name, sir?
Morgan Higby Knight.
Okay, you don't have to be that close. All right. All right. How do you spell your last name?
Night.
Okay. All right. And, sir, before I can allow you to testify, I just want to ask you a few questions. Have you seen any of the trial that's been going on for the past 6 weeks?
Approximately 5 weeks ago, a friend of mine texted me that Hicksville was mentioned, and I watched a little clip where it was mentioned.
Which clip did you watch?
I believe it was somebody testifying about, I think it was the security guard testifying maybe about Hicksville, or I forget exactly who was testifying. But it was something where Hicksville was mentioned, and it was about something about a wrist or something like that.
All right. And what did you do after that? At some point, did you get in contact with attorneys?
So I didn't reach out to them. I didn't really care. The innkeepers that worked at Hicksville before reached out to them and said, we saw some stuff that wasn't true, and then they asked, is it okay if I give the attorneys your phone number? So the attorneys reached out to me.
Okay. And when did the attorneys reach out to you?
May 3rd.
May 3rd. And you talked to the attorneys at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not Camille, but Geraldine.
Okay. And then have you seen any other parts of the trial?
No, she instructed me not to watch anything about it, regardless of if it was about Hicksville or not. So I've been keeping off the internet and turning off anything that seems to be like it's on social media, so I just don't watch any of that.
Okay. All right. And questions, Ms. Prater?
So, Mr. Knight, you were contacted by an attorney for Mr. Depp on May 3rd?
Yes.
Okay. And you said it was Carolyn?
Geraldine.
Oh, Geraldine. I got it. Okay. And what?
I think it's pronounced Geraldine.
Okay. Can you tell us the conversation you had with her at that time?
Yeah, she just asked me my recollection of the evening, and I told her, and she said, okay, would you mind testifying? And I said, sure. And she said, okay, well then we're not sure if we're going to call you or not, but just in case, please don't watch anything having to do with the case. And I said, I will do.
Now, how is it that, to your best knowledge, how is it that Geraldine was able to get hold of you? How did she know that you knew something?
So, like I said, two of my innkeepers, my innkeeper and my manager, had reached out to her team, I think through email, and one of them texted me and said, hey, do you mind if we give Geraldine your phone number?
Now, you also communicated on Twitter, did you not, about this case?
Yeah, 2 weeks prior to Geraldine reaching out to me, someone had made a comment about something that happened by the fire pit, and I said, that's not my recollection. I didn't see, that's not what I saw.
So who was it that made a comment about something that happened at the fire pit?
So once I was told about the fact that Hicksville was mentioned, I went and did a Twitter search of Hicksville trailer. So it was, I don't know who it was, but I was just like, what are they saying about Hicksville? And so that was why I did a search, just to see, because it was weird and fascinating, because the night to me wasn't that remarkable in the context of all the different experiences I've had at the Trailer Palace.
So explain to me, please, what you mean by you did a trailer search.
So if you go to Twitter and you put in keywords and do a search, all the tweets regarding that subject come up, or anything with those keywords in it. So that is how I found the tweet that I replied to.
Okay. And how many tweets did you find that mentioned Hicksville when you did that trailer search?
Probably like 5 or 6. I only replied to one of them.
Okay. And what do you recall those tweets saying about Hicksville?
The one that I replied to said that there was some incident by the fire pit, and Johnny was yelling at Amber, and I replied that I didn't see that. I was there all night, and I was working that night, so I didn't see anything like that.
So your best recollection on that one was that somebody said somebody was testifying that Johnny was yelling at Amber?
Yeah, and I believe grabbed her or something along those lines.
Do you recall who said Johnny was yelling at Amber and grabbed her?
I have no idea. It was a stranger, so I didn't really pay attention to who was writing it.
All right, and you said that you responded to it. How did you respond to it?
I said that's not what happened. I was there all night. Yeah, basically. I'm paraphrasing. It was a
Did
few
you
months
say
ago.
anything about what you thought happened?
I just said that didn't happen. I didn't say what. I believe I said maybe something along the lines of, from what I saw, Amber was the one acting jealous, not Johnny.
And you said this to one of the tweets.
Yes.
Do you recall whether that was the Umbrella Man?
I don't recall. That's a ridiculous name, though.
Okay. So tell me about the other 5 tweets that you recall seeing when you ran your trailer search.
I think they were similar in nature, but I don't specifically remember the details of them. That was pretty much the only one I remembered, and that's the only one I replied to.
Do you remember anything about the other 5 and what was said?
No.
Okay. When you said that somebody told you about a security guard, what was your understanding of what the security guard said?
I got a text that somebody in the trial had said that they were talking about Trailer Palace during the trial. And so that's what led me to go on Twitter and do a search.
And did you have any communications with the 2 innkeepers about what you knew or what you thought?
No, I hadn't talked to them in years, and still haven't regarding the case.
So how is it that the innkeepers then contacted you and said, do you mind if we give you the telephone number to the attorneys?
Because they still have me in their phone, and Christy, who was the manager at the time, is the one that texted me and said, hey, do you mind if we pass this along? Mr. Depp's attorneys want to talk to you.
Do you mind if we pass what along?
Your phone number.
Right, but how is it what is the communication you had with the innkeepers that even led them to understand that you believed you had knowledge about the Hicksville incident?
There was no conversation. They knew because they were both working that same night. Jenna was the innkeeper, and she was there along with me that night. Christy was the one who texted me, and she had come in the following morning for her shift. And I slept over. I was live-in innkeeper that night.
So I'm trying to understand. So just based on the fact that 7 years ago, they happened to know that you were working that night.
9 years ago, and it's because I was there with them.
My math, well, it's 2022 right now, and that was what year? Oh, that was 2013. You're right. Okay. So how is it that out of the blue they remembered 9 years ago that you worked there that night and that you might have some knowledge?
I mean, to be honest, we do get celebrities sometimes, but it was, it's not that unmemorable. It's not like it's any other night of the week. So I'm sure they remembered the specifics of that night.
Had Mr. Depp's attorneys ever attempted to contact you before?
No.
Had you ever attempted to contact Mr. Depp's attorneys before?
No, I had no interest.
All right. Have you had any conversations with Mr. Depp's attorneys other than the one you described with Geraldine?
Since?
Yes.
Well, I met with Camille last night.
All right. And what was that conversation? Please describe.
I just went through, the story again that I had told Geraldine.
And let's hear what that story was.
You want me to go through
Yes.
the whole story?
Your Honor, we would object to attorney work product.
There's no attorney work product.
No, I'll overrule that
All right.
objection. That's fine. That's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah,
Please
sure.
continue.
That I described like them getting to the trailer palace, me showing them around, the interactions I had when I was on duty with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard, how the evening progressed throughout the night, the levels of drinking and drug use that I witnessed, what the state of the damaged trailer the next morning, and basically just the details that I had only spent total 45 minutes to an hour with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard throughout the entire course of the night. So it was my recollection of those events during that time.
And what did Ms. Vasquez say to you?
Your Honor, this is beyond, we object on the grounds that it's beyond the scope of the voir dire,
No,
which is
I think
limited to the
whatever
three
she said
criteria.
to him
But
is
may I
very
please finish
critical.
stating my objection, Your Honor?
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
The objection is that it's beyond the scope of the voir dire. Your Honor enumerated the three criteria which are relevant here. And this is a rebuttal witness, so
Your Honor, whatever Ms. Vasquez shared with him is going to be very important here because they knew by this time he was going to be a witness. So,
Well, that was
what-
last night. So how
Right.
does that fit into one of the three factors of deciding whether or not he's going to testify?
Well, one of the three factors, Your Honor, may I approach so that the witness doesn't hear?
Okay, that's fine.
Mr. Knight, did
Yes.
Ms. Vasquez provide you with any information that anyone had testified to or said at any point?
No, she didn't talk about anything except for asking me my experience and just getting a clear understanding of what my experience was. She didn't mention anything outside of the scope of what I saw and just asked me for the facts and told me just tell the truth and let me know,
Do you know what any of the witnesses said in this trial?
about, outside of what I described earlier with the, a friend of mine texting that someone was talking about Trailer Palace, I do not.
Do you know whether any of the witnesses testified about any jealousy?
Other than the tweet that I replied to, no.
All right. Thank you. Your Honor, may we approach?
All right. Well, do you have any questions?
Oh.
All right. Sir, if you could have a seat back outside the courtroom.
Sure.
Thank you.
Can I leave my water?
Yes, you can leave your water. All right. So based on weighing the factors, I'm going to allow Mr. Knight to testify. If we could get Mr. Knight back in. Now, if I knew you were going to do a sidebar, I wouldn't have made him leave. But I never know. All right, sir, if you could just stay up, you could just stay there while we get the jury, okay? All right, are we ready for the jury?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Yes, Your Honor.
thank you. Yeah. Just we're going to swear him in again in front of the jury, okay? All right, you be seated. All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize for the interruption. You're going to notice as we get closer to the end of the testimony, you're probably going to have some more interruptions, and I apologize for that, but there's just some matters we have to take up outside your presence, okay? All right, thank you. All right, your next witness. All right, Mr. Knight, if you could come forward to be sworn.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to testify truthfully in this case under penalty of law?
I do.
Sir, if you could have a seat.
Good afternoon, Mr. Knight.
Good afternoon, Camille.
Would you please state your full name for the record?
Morgan Higby Knight.
Mr. Knight, where are you from?
I live in Los Angeles, California.
And what do you do for a living?
So I currently own and run Hicksville Pines Bud and Breakfast in Idlewild, California. And I created and ran Hicksville Trailer Palace in Joshua Tree, California, starting in 2009.
And how is Hicksville Pines Bud and Breakfast different from Hicksville Trailer Palace?
So Hicksville Pines Bud and Breakfast is up in the mountains of Idlewild, which is a beautiful snow town above Palm Springs. And all the units are A-frames instead of trailers, which we have. It's obviously a very different climate than Joshua Tree, which is a desert area. The rooms, which are themed at both places, are trailers, vintage trailers from the 50s through the 70s at Hicksville Trailer Palace. So there's also different kind of amenities. There's a pool in Joshua Tree. There's a rec room up at Hicksville Pines.
When did you first become the owner of the Trailer Palace?
Trailer Palace, I started building it in 2009. It took about a year with my collaborator, Stephen Butcher, and on the trailers. And we got done and opened in 2010.
Did there come a time that you sold the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
Yeah, I did at the beginning of 2020. I had some health issues and it was too much to run both at the same time. So I chose Idlewild because it was newer and shinier.
And just for my sake, how long did you own the Trailer Palace?
So 10 years of us being open, 11 years total.
And what was the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
So it started out as a artist retreat. I was a filmmaker at the time and wanted a place to get away and work on film projects outside of Los Angeles. I also put in a recording studio so musicians could record records there. I had lived in New Orleans for 5 years, and there was an amazing recording studio there called Kingsway, where all the musicians would come and they'd live in this big mansion and record their records. And I just thought that was a really neat thing for artists to be able to get away and create whatever they were working on. Over the course of the build out of all the themed trailers, which I'm a huge fan of this hotel called Madonna Inn. And so I wanted to do really detailed themed trailers. It became too expensive to just make a living off of an artist retreat. So I decided before I was done to make it a hotel as well.
And what were your job responsibilities, generally speaking, when you owned the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
So I would be live-in manager some nights, a couple nights a week. I would also drive out from Los Angeles twice a week and bring supplies that you can't get out in the Yucca Valley area and Joshua Tree. There's just a lot of things like, Smart and Finals, Costco's and stuff. So I would drive that stuff out. There's also no USPS, so sometimes I'd have to get things shipped to my house and drive them out as well. I would also just do constantly building and creating new stuff at Trailer Palace, whether it's new trailers or amenities. So I would be working on that stuff as well. I'm a big fan of the fact that Disneyland is always making it better and better.
And when you were the live-in manager, does that mean that you spent the night at the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
Yeah, we have a house on site where the recording studio was, and there's a bedroom in there. So whoever is live-in manager those nights stays in the house and basically lives there. There's a kitchen and everything.
Have you ever met the plaintiff in this case, Mr. Depp?
I had met him really briefly at the Viper Room in the late 90s. I had worked with some of the people that performed there and was good friends with this girl Robin from the Pussycat Dolls and some other friends in this band, The Imposters. So I was there and I met him once.
How about Miss Heard? Ever met her?
I had never met her before. They were guests at the hotel.
When was the first time that you met Mr. Depp and Miss Heard together?
In late May 2013, when they were guests, Mr. Depp's assistant Nathan had rented out the entire place so they could have a night there in privacy.
And what do you recall, if anything, about Mr. Depp and Miss Heard's arrival to the Hicksville Trailer Palace?
Mr. Depp got lost, so his security guard, who arrived early, asked me if I could go fetch them because he had an old car that didn't really fare on the dirt roads out there, which are pretty horrible. So I went out and made sure that they got themselves and the car back to Hicksville safely.
Do you remember approximately at what time that was?
It was 3 to 4 in the afternoon.
What was Mr. Depp's demeanor when they first arrived?
At Trailer Palace, he was super excited about the place, really complimentary, just had a lot of questions and seemed like he was in a really great mood.
And how about Miss Heard's demeanor? Anything stick out?
She was pretty quiet. She just kind of didn't say that much when I was giving them the tour of the grounds and the trailer.
And was anyone else with Mr. Depp and Miss Heard when they first arrived?
There was people that were arriving throughout the afternoon. So there was, I think 10 to 12 people total ended up staying. The security guard had gotten there earlier and just to check out the place. But yeah.
And did I understand your testimony previously that the entire trailer park was rented out by Mr. Depp and Miss Heard?
Yeah, the whole place slept, I believe at the time, about 25 people, but there was only 10 to 12 in this party.
And who was part of that party besides Mr. Depp and Miss Heard?
I'm really horrible with names, but I remember one of them was Miss Heard's sister and the security guard I mentioned before, but I honestly forgot his name too.
What happened when Mr. Depp and Miss Heard first came onto the property?
So I gave them a tour of, we give all guests a tour of their specific trailer and the grounds and show them around the when someone rents the whole place, they get another trailer called the bar trailer, which is basically a place to set up their alcohol and stuff. And some people in the group were just putting their beverages in that area.
And where were you when Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard, did there come a time when Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard went to the bar trailer?
I didn't notice most of the time that my interactions with them, everything's kind of centrally located. So there's a fire pit, bar trailer, and picnic tables all right in the same area. So they were generally around that area the entire evening that I saw them.
And what did you observe of Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard as the evening progressed?
So Mr. Depp was super curious and really nice. He was also really interested in my innkeeper because she was a musician, so they would talk about music a lot. At one point, the innkeeper who lived at the next door property went home and grabbed her guitar, and they had sung a song or two around the campfire in the early evening. There was another instance where Mr. Depp, the innkeeper, her name is Jenna, and myself were talking about books and music, and Miss Heard came over and kind of interjected. She seemed a little annoyed that Mr. Depp wasn't spending time with her.
What about Ms. Heard's demeanor made you think that she was annoyed?
I think just generally she, it's hard. Like I think, I don't know. It was just like a gut reaction. Like I can't describe it, but you know.
How long were you with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard that evening, generally?
So throughout the course of the evening, I was probably mostly with Mr. Depp, but 45 minutes to an hour total. So it was, that's over the whole course until the end of the night after the check-in.
Okay. And did you have an opportunity to observe Mr. Depp interact with other people, guests on the property that evening?
Yes. I saw him hanging out with a security guard at one point, and outside of the time that him and Jenna were singing around the campfire, he was off by himself a lot of the time, and Miss Heard was over at the campfire with her friends and seemed to have a good time.
And if you haven't already, can you generally describe for the jury your observations of Miss Heard that evening?
She seemed to be having a really nice time with her friends around the campfire, and everyone was in a pretty good mood.
Did there come a time in the evening that you observed Mr. Depp and Miss Heard have a disagreement or an argument?
Yes. I was speaking with Mr. Depp, just one-on-one, talking about Hicksville, and Miss Heard came over, and she said that I want to talk to you, and seemed really upset about something. So I went and back in the house because it was really, they went off on their own, and she started yelling at him, and I didn't want to hear it. It honestly was really triggering because I've been in an emotionally abusive relationship before.
Objections. Move to strike.
What's the objection?
You're up. May we approach?
Okay, sure.
Mr. Knight, will you please just explain for us what you observed when you saw Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard having an argument?
Yes. So Ms. Heard asked him to go talk off to the side, and she was upset at him, and she was yelling at him. And I personally had been in
Objection.
All right, I'll sustain the objection.
Okay.
If you could just explain to the jury what you observed when you saw Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard having an argument.
Okay. He was kind of cowering and seemed almost afraid, and it was really like odd to see because he was older than her, obviously. So, but I just went back in the house because I didn't
Objection.
want
You went to what he did.
All right, I'll sustain as to.
Understood. So after you observed the argument, fair to say you went back to to your house on site?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Okay. What happened after that?
So when I saw Mr. Depp on my next rounds, he apologized profusely and said, "I'm really sorry about that." She was upset.
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay.
Sustain. Next question.
What, if any, type of reaction did Mr. Depp have?
He was just really...
Objection, Your Honor, hearsay. He's going to say it again.
It's the reaction, it's not the statement.
All right, if you could make that clear, that's
Yeah.
fine.
Just what type of physical reaction did Mr. Depp have after the argument between Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard?
He honestly, throughout the rest of the night, became a lot more quiet and was just very more petulant. In the beginning of the night, he was a lot more outgoing and extroverted, and throughout, as the course of the night went on, he was less and less so and more quiet.
Did you observe any of the guests consuming alcohol while on the property?
I assume they were. I mean, people had cups and there was alcohol set up in the bar trailer, but I didn't physically see them pour alcohol into their cup and cup go into the mouth per se.
Did you witness Mr. Depp drink any alcohol that evening?
I couldn't say.
Anything about Mr. Depp's demeanor that made you think he was perhaps intoxicated?
Yes, as the night went on, I am a former bar owner, so even though I wasn't drinking that night, I'm very familiar with the signs. So just as the night went on, like I said, he became more and more quiet, but he also, as we would have conversations, his head would kind of sway a little bit back and forth, which was a little, he was much less sharp than he was earlier in the night.
Did Ms. Heard appear intoxicated to you?
She did. She seemed, I think when she was angry at him, it seemed like she was intoxicated, but that's just based on my experience and my own personal trauma dealing with abuse.
Objection, Your Honor, move to strike.
All right, I'll sustain the objection. We'll strike it from the record. Please disregard that testimony.
Did you observe anyone do or take drugs?
I did not.
Did you witness Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard interact other than the argument that you previously described for the jury?
At the end of the night, I heard a commotion. I was inside the house and came out. I couldn't tell what was going on. And Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard were having a discussion about I'm not sure what, but then they went to their trailer. At that point, a lot of people had already gone to bed. So it just kind of petered out. Everyone went to bed, including myself, and I didn't hear anything else the rest of the night.
What time did the evening come to an end?
I'd say it was almost around 3 a.m.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp grab anyone?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
Did you ever see Mr. Depp become physical with anyone?
Objection, leading.
Sustained. Next question.
Did you ever witness Mr. Depp get angry that evening?
Objection, leading.
Sustained.
What, if anything, happened the next morning?
The next morning, we have checkout at noon at the time, before COVID. And so around 11 o'clock, one of my innkeepers let me know that there was some damage.
Objection, hearsay.
Did something happen that caused you to go to Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's trailer?
Yes, I was informed that.
Objection, hearsay.
It's not being offered for the truth, Your Honor. I mean, may we approach on this one
Okay,
topic?
sure.
Thank you. anything happen the next morning, Mr. Knight?
The innkeepers let me know that there was some damage in one of the trailers, and it happened to be Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's trailer. So I wanted to inspect the trailer because I was extremely worried. All those trailers that Steve and I worked on were like my babies, and the one they were staying in was the only one that was mostly original and restored 1950s style, and so I was very concerned.
So what did you observe when you went to the trailer?
I observed that there was a light sconce by the bathroom in the bedroom that had been broken off the wall, and a couple pieces were on the floor, and they were, it was basically just broken. The light fixture was hanging on the wall still, except for the pieces that were on the floor.
Did you come to understand how that happened?
Objection, foundation, and
All right,
light.
foundation, I'll sustain as to foundation, how he knew.
Did you ask how the sconce was broken?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
How often do light fixtures in the trailers break?
They break pretty often. I mean, it's not like a usual thing, but things in the trailers generally get broken because it's all vintage trailers, and I would say as much as every couple weeks there's some incident of damage in one of the trailers. In this case, Mr. Depp had told me that.
Objection,
Sustained
hearsay.
objection.
So anyway, yes.
Beyond the light fixture, was anything else in the trailer damaged?
No, everything else looked fine. In fact, we have something we call a piggy fee that we address to guests, that if there's anything what we call inconsiderate or unusually large messes, we charge them extra for it for a $25 an hour cleaning fee. But they did not receive one of those because everything outside of the light fixture looked fine.
And what was your reaction to seeing the damaged light fixture?
To be honest, I was relieved because it was not a big deal. There was already another light in the room, so I just tucked the wires in the wall until I had a few months later time to buy, it was matching sconce with another one in the room. So I had to, on eBay, find a matching pair that would fit there, and when I finally got around to it, I was able to get that and charge it to Nathan, whose credit card I had.
And what was your understanding of who Nathan was?
Mr. Depp's assistant.
Okay. And what did you charge Nathan or Mr. Depp for replacing that pair of light fixtures?
The pair came out to $62.
Okay. While you were on site, Mr. Knight, did you ever wear a mesh shirt?
No, I would absolutely never wear that.
At any time during Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard's stay on the property, did you see Mr. Depp become physical with anyone?
Objection, leading.
Overruled. That's good.
I'm sorry, that answer was?
I never saw Mr. Depp get physical with anyone when I saw him.
Thank you,
All
Your
right,
Honor. Nothing further.
cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Knight, you are a pretty big fan of Johnny Depp, aren't you?
I am not. To be honest, throughout the evening,
Sorry, I just asked you one question.
Oh, I
didn't ask
apologize.
you the rest of that.
I
You
apologize.
wanted to participate in this trial, didn't you?
I did not. I
You
was
knew-
asked by the attorney, and I wanted to. They asked me, and I said I'll be happy to come and tell the truth.
You knew this was on camera, that it was being broadcast to a lot of people, and you saw testimony, did you not, in this case? And you seized the moment and responded to the umbrella guy, the lead person for Mr. Depp's Twitters. Did you not?
Objection, Your Honor. Argumentative compound.
Overruled.
Mr. Umbrella Guy is the lead. The lead.
You
what?
know that he leads one of the most predominant pro-Depp Twitters out there.
I have no idea. I don't care or follow the Umbrella Guy.
In fact, you do follow a Twitter called Johnny Depp Fan, don't you?
Absolutely not.
You don't? That's your testimony under oath?
It is my testimony under oath.
All right. And on April 21st, Mr. Depp testified in this case about Hicksville, didn't he?
I wasn't here.
And in fact, you tweeted in response to the umbrella guy on April 21, 22, quote, "That never happened. I was with them all night. Amber was the one acting all jealous and crazy." Do you recall writing that?
I do recall writing that.
Michelle, can you bring that up, please? We're going to call it Defendants 1903.
1903.
And I'm going to go ahead and ask you to redact, leave in the umbrella guy and the date and the bringing in the Hicksville. Your Honor, I'm sorry. I'm just... While she's working on that, did you write and direct a piece called Matters of Consequence back in 1999?
I did.
And didn't Mr. Depp's first wife, Lorianne Allison, work as a makeup artist on that?
She absolutely did.
And while we're looking at that, 4 days after you tweeted to Umbrella Man,
I was Umbrella Guy.
The Umbrella Guy. Okay. Well, all right. Now we have this up. I'm going to ask you to take a look. What is Defendant's Exhibit 1903? Do you see that?
I do.
Okay. And that's from that Umbrella Guy on 4/21/22, correct?
Correct.
And it says bringing in the Hicksville incident accusations. Do you see that?
I do.
And there's clearly Mr. Depp testifying there, likely a video, right?
Okay.
And you respond, "That never happened. I was with them all night. Amber was the one acting all jealous and crazy." Do you see that?
I do.
Your Honor, I'm going to move the admission of Defendants 1903.
Any objection?
Yeah, Your Honor, we believe the first part of the that Umbrella Guy's tweet should be unredacted for context.
Oh, well.
I
have no idea what I was replying to.
It's hearsay. It's rank hearsay, and the context
Your Honor,
is not necessary.
Your own approach.
Of course.
Take a look. All right. You can make that redaction. With that redaction, any objection?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Okay, 1903 will be in evidence with as redacted.
Okay. Yes. Now, so you reached out to the Umbrella Guy in this text, this Twitter, right?
I wouldn't call it reaching out.
Okay. And in fact, the Umbrella Guy is in Mr. Adam Waldman. Do you know who Adam Waldman is?
I have no idea.
Well, he's testified earlier that he talks to the Umbrella Guy.
That he what? He talks to the Umbrella Guy?
Yeah. Were you aware of that?
I honestly, this sounds like schizophrenia.
Okay. Now, 4 days after this event where you texted, Your Honor, yeah, it's in, okay, good. 4 days after that, you tweeted something pretty nasty about Elon Musk, didn't you?
I did.
Okay, thank you. So you don't like Elon Musk, right?
Objection
Well-
relevance.
Oh,
I don't know Elon Musk.
Overruled.
thank you.
So that was the context of that is that he
I
had.
didn't ask you for the context.
I apologize.
Okay. But you texted something that had swear words in it. Would you agree about Elon Musk?
Yes.
Okay. Now, let's talk about your recollections here. 45 minutes to an hour. Your recollection is that Mr. Depp actually drove there?
Yes.
What type of car was he driving?
An old one that was a convertible.
An old convertible?
I'm not a car guy, so I couldn't express the model.
All right. And your recollection was this was May of 2013?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall when in May?
Late May.
Okay. Now, you said that you spent a total of 45 minutes to an hour with Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard. Is that correct?
After the, mostly Mr. Depp, but that's after the tour and after they were checked in throughout the course of the night.
Okay. And you don't recall any of the people that were there other than Ms. Heard's sister and the security guard, correct?
I don't recall any of their names.
Do you remember how many of them were female?
I believe it was predominantly female.
Do you remember how many males were there?
I don't, outside of the security guard.
Do you remember what any of the other people looked like?
They honestly just seemed like youngish hipsters, like for lack of a better term. I know that previously a couple of them had stayed at Hicksville Trailer Palace. That's how they knew about the place.
Okay. So you don't recall seeing how much anybody had to drink that night, correct?
I did not witness that.
And do you recall the use of drugs at all?
I did not witness that.
Okay. Were you sitting at any point with these people at the campfire?
I was not.
Okay. And when you said that that you saw Ms. Heard and Mr. Depp, and Ms. Heard was yelling at Mr. Depp, where were they?
She pulled him for a chat, and it was off towards their trailer, like a little bit off towards the dirt.
How many feet were there between the campfire and their trailer?
The campfire and their trailer?
Yes.
Approximately 75.
Okay. So where in that 75 feet did Ms. Heard pull Mr. Depp and yell at him and he cowered?
20.
Okay. 20
From the campfire.
From
not
the
trailer.
campfire.
Yeah.
So your testimony is that Ms. Heard grabbed Mr. Heard, pulled him 20 feet over, yelled at him, and he cowered.
Yes, that's what I witnessed.
And then did they go back?
I went inside the house.
So you don't know whether they returned to the campfire or they returned to their trailer?
I do not.
Okay. And do you know whether there were any disagreements or physical communications, anything of that nature at the campfire?
I do not.
Do you know whether Mr. Depp did anything to anybody else at the campfire?
I didn't see anything.
Okay. Do you know whether Mr. Depp grabbed anybody's wrist and asked them if they knew how many pounds of pressure it took to break their wrist?
I wasn't there the whole time.
Okay. Is it your testimony that Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard went last to their trailer? Everybody else went before them?
The rest of the people, I think about half of them had already gone to bed, and they went, it was all around the same time at the end of the night that the rest kind of scattered. There might have been a couple of people that went right after them or right before, but it was all around the same time.
Okay, so your recollection is that when Amber and Johnny Depp went back to their trailer, that dissipated, everybody then left at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how far away was your house that you were staying in from the trailer that Amber and Johnny Depp were staying in?
I'd say it was about 75 feet away.
Okay. And the next time that you saw or heard anything was when you went there in the morning and saw the broken sconce. Is that
Yes,
correct?
I didn't hear anything after went to bed.
Okay. And that's the extent of your knowledge.
Yes.
Okay. I have no further questions.
All right, redirect.
Mr. Knight, how did you get involved in this trial?
I got a text from one of our old employees who I didn't talk to for
Objection,
years.
hearsay.
Don't tell us what the text said. Just how did you get involved?
I got a text from. I got a.
That's still hearsay, Your Honor.
Okay.
Objection.
Overruled.
Thank you. Go on, Mr. Knight.
I was asked if it was.
no.
I'll
Objection,
sustain that.
hearsay.
Apologize.
What did you?
I got a
What did
text.
you received a text? Okay.
Yes.
From
and
whom?
From a former employee.
Okay. And how long had it been since you had heard from this former employee?
Approximately 5 years.
And did you contact Mr. Depp or any of his attorneys?
Objection, leading.
Overruled.
I did not.
How did you get in touch with Mr. Depp's attorneys?
They got in touch with me.
Objection, hearsay.
Overruled.
Go on, Mr. Knight.
They reached out to me.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
I don't have an objection right now.
Thank you.
Only if he talks more.
Next question.
And how do you feel about participating in this trial?
Objection, relevance.
It's extremely relevant considering that they have accused him of being.
Overruled.
Thank you.
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I'm happy to tell what I saw, and that's the extent of it. I really don't care outside of that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Knight. Nothing
All
further.
right. I assume this witness is not subject to recall. Is that correct?